Today I will show you a little bit about why ordering in Finite animations matter. And I will first talk a little bit about assembly performance on randomly ordered grids to give some motivation here. Then I will talk a bit about the so-called graph arrangement problem in computer science. And finally, I will show you how we get good assembly performance on generic meshes. So, since we haven't heard much about finite elements today, let's give a short introduction. I think about finite elements as simply a method to discretize operator equations in weak form, where we get some infinite dimensional problem into a finite dimensional problem. What we usually think engineers about is that we have here some PD on some domain, we discretize it, and then we have some physics defined on it, which we assemble into ultimately some kind of linear form. In general, we can write down the finite element family in this generic form, which is a fundamental decomposition of finite element operators. And today we will talk about the full assembly, where we essentially get the full A together with this sequence of operations. Usually engineers learn about this form here with the so-called assembly operator. And again, I will talk about the steady state heap problem because I have to start somewhere. So, in finite element assembly on random grids, we just take the generate grid function from the Ferrite framework, assemble heap problem, and measure the time with benchmark with JL. Then we repeat the same problem with a randomized ordering of these elements, and we can observe that the performance difference is quite significant the finer we choose the mesh. So I think this is sufficient to convince you that not all orderings for the elements are equal. However, does it have any practical implication? I mean, I just randomized the grid ordering here. Why should this matter? Actually, in practice, if we just generate a mesh, for example, with Gmsh, we obtain something like this here, and the color is actually the element index. And we see it is not completely random, but it has a quasi-random structure here. This simply comes from the way how the elements are generated, or like how the meshes are generated. They usually sprinkle random points inside and generate meshes this way. There are also other algorithms which will give you naturally more structured ordering, for example, structured mesh generators. So, why does this actually happen in practice? I mean, on paper, the orderings shouldn't matter much, right? However, in practice, we have computer architecture, and essentially we have here our cores, and then we have multiple levels of caches until we get to our main memory locally. What is the issue here? The caches, they usually grab full lines of memory from the main memory to do some work on individual cores. However, if we have our elements consecutively ordered in memory, the memory will be already loaded in the cache for the subsequent elements. However, if we have a random ordering, we load some elements and then we throw them away and load them again from the main memory. Why does that matter? Unfortunately, computer science is constrained by physics. So we are constrained by how fast is it to load over this distance here into the full memory. So as our design goals, we should have our data as consecutively or as predictable as possible, to be specific here, layout of memory. And if we have loaded memory, then we should also use it if possible. So let us now think about how do we order these elements. We start with some grid. This grid comes with some numbering, also which we get from our mesh generator. And the grid itself, it induces some kind of topology, some kind of neighboring relation. As the neighboring relation, we choose here quite arbitrarily the connection. If a node is shared between two elements, then we draw a connection. This way, we get a graph. Now we can reduce our ordering problem to a so-called linear graph arrangement problem. So what we want to do is we want to number these nodes here in the graph in some way such that some kind of optimization function is minimized. I've chosen for this talk to use the Gecko library from Peter Lindström. There are also other ways to mathematically model this. Wherever these are details, they all give you good ordering in practice. So, and here we see, for example, one optimal path, believe me or not, would be that we can take this one here, which maximizes the number of data reuse across the assembly. And also optimization is usually not unique. We can find different optimal solutions. So let's redo it again. And we take again the heat problem, generate some mesh, Gmsh with this geometry, and see we get, as before, the random structure. We not only order the elements for the testing here, but we also order the nodes, because the nodes are also quite randomly ordered when we generate the mesh. And we do the same with our DOF orderings, because why should the DOF ordering be optimal? As we see here on the right, that's actually a generated optimized ordering for these elements with Gecko. And on the top, we see, the highest point with the scaling here. That's just a standard ordering, which we get out of Gmsh with the assembly scaled by the element numbers. And then you see that the biggest gap here is due to the element ordering. And if we now also order the nodes with, for example, cut key, which is just some bandwidth minimization problem, which also gives you some nice locality in the node data, you don't get that much increase of performance. Interestingly, we see that the EDN ordering, which is also included with DOF ordering with meters, it actually decreases for the performance. So the algorithm which Frederick has written for the DOF distribution, it's actually giving you a very good cache utilization for the assembly. So as a quick summary, good element ordering improves our simulations in terms of performance. The node ordering is actually just of second order importance. We can get minor performance increase out of this, but usually it's not necessary. And meters reordering causes a consistent slowdown across all problems which I tried. What do we learn here? We can't only prioritize, but we also have to measure when it comes down to performance engineering. And as our next steps, I want to look if we can translate these results to parallel assembly. Yes, we will get some speed up here, but as I said, we have to actually measure how much we can get out, because there are sometimes effects which you don't have in mind, which play a role here. Also, the same thing for adaptive measures. How can we optimize these orderings here to get cache optimal local time stepping, as of is presented here? And with this, I want to thank you for all your attention.
Thank you, Dennis. So we actually got back in time schedule.
Yeah.
But that means we also have plenty of time for questions if there are some. Christopher.
We have to assemble many times, more times fast.
You mean, I use benchmark tools and I assemble a few times and take the median value. So there is pre-formulation is out, and also like fluctuations due to like heating of the processor and so are usually also out. So I get these one consistently if I repeat them.
Yeah, my point is just that to do the reordering, you have to look at all the formats and so on. That's the comparable cost as if you do it only assemble once.
True.
And the cost of that should be. So you're assembling many times the same reordering to sort of offset the cost of doing that.
Yes, if I just assemble once, the optimization problem takes much longer. For the finest mesh, the Gecko ordering, if you do a very nice Gecko ordering, it takes about 1 hour for 2 million elements. However, usually my simulations, they take 24 hours. So if I can cut down the simulation time by 50% due to reordering, and that reordering takes 1 hour, it's a win for me. If you just reheat problem, then, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking if we should make a good by default like that, but then we probably shouldn't.
We can introduce some algorithms by default, which are cheaper, which can give you an ordering within below a second. But I mean, depends. I mean, we should do it, I think, in Ferrite Gmsh, or like also like what was it called? Ferrite mesh
parser, yeah.
Ferrite mesh parser. Because I mean, we can observe this one consistently also across frameworks. This is not no new insight from me. Also, for example, npm people know this, but I want to share it to a wider audience, so people are more aware how to speed up their simulations with little effort. And also the code here, it's online. So you can probably copy paste it and just drop your files in. It's on my GitHub profile with FerriteCon 2025. Other questions? Or did it answer your question?
Yeah, you did. I have more questions, but I let other people.
Yeah. I'm so rude that I also have a question. Have you compared to doing something very simple, like say ordering by coordinate?
No, but we know that they will also give you speedups. I just didn't have time to implement it.
No, it is assumed that it will be interesting if that brings you somewhat close, because that could be very cheap.
I don't know how close it will bring you.
No.
I mean, it will definitely improve, but it's depending on how graded your mesh are, you can get not so great ordering sometimes, but it will give you a speed up because it's more, I mean, even with, for example, with spatial curve orderings, which you propose by like sorting by coordinates, sorting, you will get better values because you have some low cache locality built in.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
It's like the body of your assembly have to be quite cheap in order for the body of the whole thing to not dominate the few cache misses you get.
There are many factors which play in here. I mean, even if your body is not super cheap, the cache misses will still play a role, depending on your computer architecture. I mean, if you have big caches and not so many elements, then usually your full problem will fit in the like L2 or L3 cache. For these big problems, you will probably see consistent speed ups if you don't have like super expensive elements where you do like multiple solves on the element, then other cache misses will also dominate. But I mean, usually for like standard physics problems where you have like porous media or like normal elasticity, high elasticity, usually we are hardcore memory bounded. Yes.
Is the reordering going to be a problem if we have different element types?
Sorry?
If we have different element types, and
no, I mean,
should it affect?
For ordering, you just need bookmark. This has nothing finite element specific. This is really just, as a computer scientist, you can think about, hey, I have a graph, and now I want to put numbers on these points here, such that some function is minimized. In the you have some kind of function where you put also numbers on the edges. For example, you say, if I have two node shares, then I put a 2 here, and I put a 1 here because I share one node, and then I want to minimize some ordering as a function of these neighborhoods. So you will like have maximal locality.
There is one line missing there in the middle, right?
6 to 7. Yeah, it's distancing. That's right.
Okay.
Maybe it's a bit of a stupid question, but if you're talking 2 million elements, doesn't your linear solver dominate your runtime far more than your assembly?
Depends. I mean, if you have an iterative solver which suits a problem, usually it isn't a bottleneck. I mean, also depends on what you assemble here. I mean, if you have this stupid heat problem here, I mean, it's really hard that you get a faster solver than assembly.
Maybe just a quick fun thing, because you said the Metis order was slower, but maybe Fredrik should correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was also, it's partly to make the linear solve more efficient.
Yes, but so what it's doing, it does some bandwidth minimization.
Mhm.
So it will order your DOFs such that in the start matrix, your bandwidth will be more minimal.
Mhm.
That corresponds to more cache optimality, because if you have lower bandwidth, the DOS ordering is closer in memory in the worst case. So, but I mean, we just drop the DOS element by element, and this is usually pretty hard to beat.
I meant in the sense that even if you lose time now on the assembly, that time you might win back when you're solving the linear problem later by using the Metis ordering.
Possibly. I mean,
because Fredrik showed that 2 years ago, right? That at least the LU, if you use a direct solver, the LU memory is much smaller with that one.
That's right. Yeah, it's a trade-off in the
Yeah.
end. But I mean, for this one, it's really hard to make recommendations when to use the Metis ordering to when it comes to assembly performance. Because you have to make the trade-off between how much slowdown do I have versus how much speed up do I gain due to the linear solve.